August 25th, 2015, the day I uploaded my first review of the original Sonic the Hedgehog game. I was only 15 years old and hadn't even started my sophomore year of high school. It was a simpler time. I didn't have too many priorities or expenses, I had a lot of free time with my friends, and I had an actual upload schedule. It truly was a different time. I would then review the next couple of Sonic games with my friends and family, but after that, things started to get crowded. I had more extracurricular activities, a job, more studies I had to attend to, and on top of that, I had to apply to college. I got into my school of choice, which was a great relief, but things were changing rapidly. I had to say goodbye to many close friends, move downtown, and learn the basics of film production. Things certainly changed, but for the better, I'd say. I made new friends, kept in contact with my old ones, and I was lucky enough to be part of 15 productions in my time as a college student. Needless to say, I'm happy, but I look back at those old videos and I think back on those simpler times and I ask myself one question. How have I grown as a person? I'm 20 years old and I have a beard. If that's not progress, I don't know what is.
Hey Sean, it's your old pal dictionary.com. We've called to let you know that the definition of progress is not that.
Damn it! Yeah. I'm back. Wow, it's been about a year since I've done a game review of some variety. College will do that stuff to you. Yeah, it's the main reason why me, Mo, and JT haven't really done videos in a while. School, again, that takes up a lot of time in our schedules, and just on top of that, like, the current state of the world, and especially the country right now, so, yeah, that's definitely take up a lot of our priorities and whatnot. I feel for the sake of, like, my own creativity, it's best that I stick to doing videos I actually want to do right now, as opposed to doing, like, a review out of, say, like, a previous obligation, which was kind of my big problem I had when doing the God of War review. I actually had most of it recorded and pretty much ready to go, and, like, the whole skeleton of the video was done in editing, but, I don't know, to me it just didn't feel like me at my best. It honestly felt more like an obligation rather than something I actually wanted to talk about. The reason I'm going back to these games is because during my time in quarantine, I've actually had a chance to replay through all the games again, and surprisingly, my thoughts on them have actually changed a lot more than I thought they would have. I have not fully played through these games since I was 15, and that's so weird to say out loud. These games are kind of what helped shape me as a content creator, and considering how much I feel I've changed over the past 5 years, I don't know, I think it's only fair that I give these games a more thorough retrospective. So with that said, Sonic 1, the game that started the anarchy. This was the brainchild of one Naoto Oshima and Yuji Naka, two programmers who worked at Sega at the time. Oshima was the artist responsible for Sonic & Co.'s final design, with Naka being in charge of the coding and programming side of things. So while Yuji Naka is often credited as the godfather of the Sonic series, Naoto Oshima is the one we can thank for giving Sonic his iconic look. I don't really think enough people talk about how creative Sonic's design is from an art design standpoint. His round posture makes him appear fun and playful, but the spikes on the back of his head definitely add an extra edge to him. Sonic's personality was also inspired by many different figures in the 90s, like Michael Jackson and Bill Clinton. Oh, I'm sure that ages well. Alright, Jackson I could sort of understand for the sake of giving Sonic a showman-like attitude, but Bill Clinton? I mean, I guess it's a sign he has a casual attitude, but it still feels like a weird source of inspiration. But good thing they stopped at that. The last thing we need in a Sonic the Hedgehog game are saxophones, cigars, and sexual harassment. I love kids' games. But once everything was in place, the game finally came out in 1991 on the Sega Genesis to widespread commercial success. This game was the reason why people bought a Sega Genesis outside of the graphics. The game's influence was that powerful. I should know. Look at me. I'm a f***ing madman. And from there, the rest is history. Sonic had become a massive icon in gaming. Until he had a downward spiral in the mid-2000s, got his life back together for a few years just to have a relapse, and then emerge as a movie star. Oh, that classic story. But those games are a discussion for another time. As for right now, we're going to take a look back at the glory days of Sonic the Hedgehog and see just how its conception led us to this point. So with that said, let's take a look. So the plot of Sonic 1. Dr. Robotnik wants to take over the world. That f***ing bastard! He is enslaving animals to use as a power source for his robots, i.e. a souped-up version of hamster power. And with Sonic being the thrill-seeker that he is, he looks to stop the menace of Robotnik and restore peace to his home. Yeah, it's a pretty simple story for a video game, but there are a few select details that help make the game's journey feel a bit more fulfilling. The detail about Robotnik putting animals in his robots actually plays out in the game, as a random animal will pop out whenever one is destroyed. That and the end goal of each stage is to destroy a capsule that contains these animals. Also, another neat detail is how Robotnik is actually the only boss you fight in the game, as he appears at the end of each stage in a different contraption. And for the time, that's actually really unique, as other games would save the big bad guy for the end. So I think it's actually kind of cool that you fight him so many times in the game. It kind of gives a more personal reason for the player to want to stop him, and kind of helps build the rivalry between Sonic and Robotnik. Overall, I feel the story works for this sort of game. It's not super serious, but there's enough of a threat and drive that it actually makes you want to play all the way to the end, which is exactly what a video game story should strive to do, so A+ on that part. But enough about the story, we've got to move on to the gameplay. And considering how this game is all about speed, I cannot wait to go through some wicked fast levels that I can absolutely blast through. I'm not gonna say false advertising. So, Sonic 1 has a bit of a pacing problem. It seems that for every time you try to go fast in this game, there's something that always seems to slow you down to the point where it feels like someone in development was trying to actively fuck with you. Sonic does move relatively fast in this game, but his top speed is capped while running, with the only way to pick up more speed is by crawling into a ball and rolling down a hill. You can get speed shoes to run significantly faster, but the fact that you can't go faster than programmed by default just kinda makes the flow of the game's controls a little weird. You only have one button to press, which is jump, and while that sounds simple, a lot of the game's complexity comes from Sonic's movement. Momentum is a big aspect in this game. If you want to go fast, you've got to earn it by rolling down hills and going through loops. This balance of maintaining speed while also not getting hit is what makes the controls so important in this game. It's not a matter of hitting a button and zooming across the stage. You need to play the game by its rules, and when you do, it is so satisfying to be able to blast through a stage like it's nothing. But man, do the stages not help with that! Yes, while the controls encourage fast movement and timing, the level design doesn't really give you a chance to go very fast at all. It hurts all the more because Green Hill Zone, the first stage in the game, is fantastic. There are tons of loops and slopes for you to roll through, plenty of power-ups to find. Yeah, it's not a very long stage, but it sets the tone and pace that you would expect the game to follow. And then Marble Zone shows up and acts as a literal brick wall. It's not bad, but for the second stage, it's way too much of a change in pace and an even worse spike in difficulty. This stage can be pretty hard, with there being spikes, crushers, spikes on crushers, just in case we didn't notice, lava, and a whole lot of waiting. It just kind of makes me wonder why this, of all choices, was the second stage. If anything, it seems like it'd be a decent part for the middle of the game, but I guess Sonic Team was a really big fan of brick walls. Swingyard Zone, now this is more like it. It's not the fastest stage in the game, but it does have some fun areas for you to roll downhill, pick up some speed, and these sections where you have to roll back and forth are neat. Well, that's nice, we got a faster stage. Man, if the rest of the game's gonna go like this, it's gonna be an absolute blast! Damn it! Labyrinth Zone needs to go lay down. If you thought Marble Zone was bad, this is like a brick wall with water. There's nothing fast about this stage, it's super blocky and bland, it goes on forever, and it gives me anxiety. This stage really makes me wonder on why Sonic Team would try to make a character focused on going fast, only to give him a level where he can't do that at all, and at that, it just kind of makes rooting for Sonic that much harder. How can he expect to defeat Robotnik? He can't even fucking swim. Starlight Zone, a vast improvement over the last one. This is a nice and cozy stage to play, and it's set at night too. How can it go wrong? Oh yeah, death. Scrap Brain Zone caps us off, and by now I'm pretty sure you should have noticed the level pattern so far of fun level, kill me, fun level, oh please kill me, and fun level. This stage keeps killing me! Now, in all fairness, I'll say that Scrap Brain has the excuse of it being the final level. It's supposed to be a bit slower and more difficult. It's not really that fun of a stage, but it keeps the pace pretty consistent, which is nice, and it doesn't really throw any surprises at you. Oh, f***, Act 3 is Labyrinth Zone. Don't worry, everybody, I've sounded the alarms. The bosses in this game are pretty good, but they're all kind of cut from the same cloth. Just hit Robotnik 8 times and bam, you're good. But they all have their own little unique gimmicks for you to figure out and beat, which keeps them pretty interesting. Except Labyrinth Zone, where you have to follow Robotnik through a series of spikes and turrets. Again, a brick wall with water can never be trusted. Now, that may be it for the main stages, but we can't forget about the special stages. You see, whenever you beat a stage with 50 plus rings, you can jump into a giant ring and get a chance to collect something called a Chaos Emerald. Get all 6 and you get a better ending, and if these stages are any good, well, then I have to go after them. Yeah, these special stages kinda suck. I mean, it's not terrible, but these aren't really that much fun either. You just go through a maze of blocks and circles to find the Chaos Emeralds, which sounds simple, but it is so easy to lose at these. You will fall through these exits constantly, and navigating through these on your first playthrough is gonna be a little confusing. But my biggest problem with these stages is that you really only get so many attempts to nab these, as you can only get them in the first 2 acts of a stage. And if you don't get at least 2 by Starlight Zone, you can't get the good ending. Now, getting 50 rings isn't that hard, and it shouldn't be that much harder to hold on to them, right?
Jesus Christ!
Also, the good ending really isn't that different. You save the day in both, but the good ending just has you use the Chaos Emeralds to grow plants. Why would you do that? That seems like a really big waste of their power. Just grow them with water! I don't know how to feel about this game. I mean, it's fine, but man, did I forget there were a lot of issues here. The game does control well, but for a first-party platformer in the 90s, that's not really a huge milestone. And even then, the control doesn't really matter when the level design doesn't complement it. And that's my biggest problem with this game, the levels. Outside of Green Hill, I don't really like any of these stages. Whether it's because they're too slow, have annoying enemy placement, or just Labyrinth Zone, I don't find myself having a great time playing this game anymore. I can't bring myself to say the game is bad because I could see a lot of effort and passion went into it, from the graphics, which still hold up pretty well, and the music. That is something you could always expect to be good from a Sonic game. The level tracks are great. They range from fun and bouncy to upbeat and jazzy to dark and sinister. These elements clearly display great talent. But I feel it's misguided by a lack of direction. And saying that out loud, that kind of says a lot about the series. Now, I still have a soft spot for this game. It was the first one I owned when I got my Sega Genesis. I remember my cousins and I went to this retro game store when we were young, and we were in awe by the sheer history behind this thing. It will always have value for me in that aspect, but I wouldn't play this one first. It's a fine game, but not a great starting point. Now, I don't want to be too negative when looking at these games, since, so many people are already. I want to be honest, and I gotta say, that brick wall hurts. But this is a classic Sonic retrospective. If I were to move on, I would need a game that continues the story, adds upon the foundation of the first game, and basically improves upon the series in every single way possible. Have this game in my hand.